Alright guys, welcome back to Crusty Cranks. So I got a bunch of these crawls done, and actually my mold tour. I've done a lot of these. I've done a bunch of these, probably close to 75 or 80 of them just on my own, and then I've sold some to some of you guys out there. But yeah, I've got quite a few out of my mold. My mold now is tore. The bill in slot there tore off on the inside, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do about that. I tried fixing it once and it tore back out the same spot. So if any of you guys got any tips on it, fixing a rubber mold, let me know. It tore off right down in here, a chunk of it. I'm gonna try something else that I got in mind. I don't know. Or I'll just have to clean them out with the bandsaw every one I make, but it's going to get progressively worse, I'm sure. But I've done a few different mods to these since doing so many of them. For one thing I did, if you guys got one of these molds, you know, probably the hook, the bottom hook eye is too far forward, I think, anyway. It catches on the bill. If you use a number 4 hook, it catches on the bill. And well, I got another guy that buys these from me. He's bought 8 different colors, so I've got 8 over here. I've got 7 here. We're going to do one on this video. I think I'm just going to do a video on each color that I've done, because some of these turned out pretty cool, so I might as well show them to you, and you guys can paint some too if you like. But yeah, he wants some more, so I started making some more. I got another fellow that wants to buy some, so obviously I don't know if there's a problem with the mold. I think he's remaking the mold or something, so I can't get my hands on another one right now, so I'm gonna have to make do. Hopefully he'll get the flaws figured out. And anyway, but I've done some different things on making these, so I might make a video on that. If any of you guys got this mold, let me know down in the comments, and see if you want to, because I've played around with a bunch of different weights and how I want it to sit in the water and how I want it to float. Do I want it to float and sink a little bit, you know? So I've played around with a bunch of different weights, and I got I think some good ideas that's been consistent for me. But yeah, I stopped putting these in, and I just put them in when I'm done with the bait now, because I do use longer screw eyes too. I've been putting longer screw eyes in, and then just 2-part epoxying them in. I think that's going to make it much stronger. I just don't trust the screw eyes in there, the short little ones that he recommends for these. So I went with the little longer ones to get them a little deeper, especially on the tail. And then here, obviously, you can only go so far in. But anyway, that's just some modifications I've been playing around with on this mold. They're cool baits, man. We've been catching fish on them. We fish them up in the creek, and we do really well with these different colors. So I'm gonna paint one color, one bait per video, I think, so that way we can make them quick. You'll have all the steps down. I've already done one of these, and a couple people want me to do a couple different colors anyway, so yeah, I thought that'd be a good start to a video. I'll go over the colors here in a minute, but let's get this stain on here. I've been using this FolkArt. This one's Expresso. I've got 4 different colors that you can get these at Walmart. It's kind of an antiquing medium, and it really turns out cool with the details and the depth on these baits, the contours and stuff. It gets down in there. So this technique's worked out really good, and everybody sees it. So, damn, them are awesome. So I thought I would just do this real quick, but I do this basically on every one of them. So I'll put the stain on there for a minute, kind of let it soak in this resin. That helps too. It's kind of messy doing it this way, but it turns out really cool. And you want to get it on there and just coat it on there. It don't have to be nothing pretty. Actually, the different variations of how it soaks in gives it kind of a cool look for the crawls, because it's not just, don't look like an even paint job. But you just brush this stuff on here and give it a minute. You don't want it to dry too much, but as long as you keep it wet, you can brush it right off and make a stain out of it, almost. So But yeah, I've got 3 or 4 different colors. I'll show you them, but once we do this a couple times, I'll probably skip this part, and you guys will already know that that's what I do to get that textured look. I haven't primed these or nothing because I think the resin itself takes in that stain pretty cool and kind of gives it that, I don't know, it just looks kind of stained in there and kind of more natural, I think. But anyway, we just brush this on, get all your little crevices really good. It's kind of, I put it on heavy and I don't worry about getting it on my fingers. It's water based, so it's going to come off. Get it on there real good, get it down in all these little crevices. It's really a pretty cool technique, I think, anyway. And the guys that fish in them, I got a local guy that I do some for too, so he's got a couple of the colors, so yeah, they make cool baits. I find myself painting them and then I want to keep them, and then somebody else wants them, and then I usually like, all right, take that one. And then what happens is I have to end up making more. So it's a good step to make some videos. I need to get more videos up anyway, and we'll make a little series out of these. I don't really have any, I know some of you might ask me if I sell them, but I don't really want to sell these until I make sure that I can fix the mold or get a new mold, because I'm not going to sit there and clean up a bunch of baits that really I don't make any money on anyway. I mean, these things ain't cheap. You know, they're not real cheap by the time you figure your resin and the mold and all that. So if you've got a mold already or can get your hands on a mold, I would definitely say once he fixes the problem or whatever's going on, that you get one of these, because they're not that hard. I mean, once you got the mold, you got a 2-part mix and then some sinkers and some screw eyes. But cleanup's not too bad. It's a crawl. If it looks rough, it looks rough. So there's no real big effect to it, but it gives it that antique look, which really makes it cool when you put different colors on top of it. So I'm gonna do that, and then I usually let it dry for a little bit. Once I got that all rubbed in, I want to let it dry and let it soak in that resin. And like I said, you don't have to be perfectly, you know, some areas can be darker, some areas can be lighter. Just gives it that rough look. These are some of the coolest baits, and they run great. I've got to balance that out too, but he's got the bill slot set, and it's about 2 to 4 feet. The one guy said, hey, I need to get that mold fixed. He said, I'll buy you another mold. I said, well, I can't get one. Excuse me. I said, if I can get another mold, I'm gonna buy 2 or 3 of them. So once you get the steps down, they're pretty easy. I mean, I get the 30-minute resin, so it takes it a little while to cure, but gives you a little more time to pour it in there. So that's it. It's all rubbed down. I'm gonna go with that on this one, and I'll let that dry. But I think on this one we're gonna do kind of a fire crawl on this one. Maybe a couple reds, maybe a little candy. We'll see. I don't really have a plan, but I mean, I know how I painted the other ones, but I kind of like everyone to be so they don't look exactly the same anyway. But I'll bring you guys back and we'll get ready to put that next color on. All right, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you know the fire crawl, we start with the fluorescent orange. On this one, just the belly, because we want to keep that deep. We're going to have that deeper red on the sides and the back. So I'll get something to clip this on too, since I don't have a bill. Let's see, let's clip it right here since we're going to do the belly. Oh, here, this one's covered with paint. All right, so let's hit the belly. We don't want to flood it because we don't want to get that, we don't want our detail not show through. Still want to maintain that brown crawl look. Give it a little bit of highlight underneath. A little more towards the front. That's all we're going to do to it. We'll go a little higher so that shows up a little bit to the shell. Kind of blast it on this side. Alright. Let that dry for a minute and we'll go on to the next color. Alright, next color we're going with this is by Comart. It's Toulindine Red. Now you could probably use a transparent red. This stuff's a little thin, almost like ink. So we can have a little better control over it because it's a little thinner. This is kind of an orange. It's kind of between a reddish orange and the fluorescent. By the time we lay those darker reds on it, we'll get a nice blend. I'll lay a little bit up there. Won't matter too much. We're going to go dark up there. We'll kind of let that run down into that. Get the nose, get the face. Almost already looks like one of them Alabama crawfish. Some of the best tasting crawfish. Alright, I like that. We're going to let that go. Get a little bit right here. We still got that detail showing through. This gives it some good depth. It's almost like with these baits, you don't even need to spray paint any textures on there. They still look cool. But, alright, I'm going to let that dry a minute, clean out my brush, and get the next color loaded in there. I'm going to go little deeper reds all the way up, or kind of blended up, and this thing's gonna look fire. All right, I'll bring you back. All right, if you know, you know. We got this wrap tool on there, and I kind of on this side I kind of got a little too excited, got too early, and really didn't let that dry enough. I should have let it dry a little more, but that's not going to hurt nothing. So once we hit it a little bit, it'll get that little bit of a hint of this next color on there, and it could just look like a light spot. At least that's what I'm telling myself. All right, next color we're going with, we're going to build on our reds, so we're going with Wicked Crimson. This is kind of an in between the fluorescent and the next color I think we're going to use is a deep red or a blood red. Got my pressure turned down because I don't want to kill this thing with this color. I just want to put a little dusting on it. Just want to still be able to see those oranges as we get to the top. Kind of build deeper and deeper. Since this is the sisal wrap layer, we can kind of get this top a little more so some of that orange shows through real good. if you watch my videos, you know I tell you guys, save these pieces. The more paint you build on them, sometimes the more effects you get out of them. It's really cool. Let's get a little here. I'm still rubbing it off. But all right, so just dusting it in there. A little heavier up on the top because we're going to come in with another color yet. And a lot of times you don't really see these blends real good until they dry back, and then once you get the epoxy on there. So sometimes you can think you don't have enough, and you keep hitting it and keep hitting it, and then before you know it, you've lost a good blend. So when you're using this many colors, it's best to just go slow, put a little bit at a time, build each color. I'll bring you back. We'll get the next red on there. All right, guys. It's getting late, and I'm not going to paint this thing all tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with a little UVLS. Give it a nice coat because it's just going to keep scratching on me. So I'm going to give it a nice little coat here, let it dry overnight. Call it a night. I'll come back in the morning and we'll lay the other colors on this thing. Once that UVS seals it in, I went back and touched that up a little bit. Caused my orange to get a little darker than what I wanted, but still looks cool. Looks good. Almost looks good just like that. But the first layer, I don't know if I said this or not, but the first layer was like a new piece. It didn't have any spray on it at all. So you can barely see the difference, but it's in there. Once we start laying the other colors on with different thicknesses, you'll start seeing different darker spots and shadow areas. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, guys. I'll bring you back in the morning. We'll lay the rest of the colors on there. Okay, back. It's next morning and we're gonna finish this guy up. Okay, so I don't think I showed you this, but I will. So here's the first piece I used. As you can see, it's pretty new, and it's just doubled over. So you can double it over to create a little more that effect in there. The next one I'm going to use is this one. So these are all just various stages of paint on them. This one's got a little more paint on it, as you can see, and when you feel it, you'll feel it. It's a little thicker, and so we're just basically stepping up each time. This will be the last one, and this one's just going to be a little hint of black going through there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this one on here, and we're going to hit the next red. The next red's going to be this deep red, Createx deep red, to get a little more deeper color in that red. As you can see, that red, crimson red's on there, and it'll start showing up more as you start building your colors on there. So you can see we still got our orange in there. We got our fluorescent down here. And then we'll get a little deeper red on the next color. And then I think we're going to just hint a little bit of black on it, just to get a little more detail in there. So let me get the wrap on there. I'll bring you back and we'll go with the deep red. Let's get some deep red on here. And this one I'm staying high on this one. One more step. just want enough on there to see that texture show up. And we'll get the face a little bit more too. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let this dry real good. I'll peel it off for you when we get back. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, let's take a look. See what we got. We're gonna get our next color on there, and then we're gonna make the eyes. We're gonna have some little bulging eyes. Just peel it off easy. Sometimes it wants to stick a little bit. It's got some little white specks on there. I think it came off of my sisal. I don't think it pulled the paint, but we did let it dry overnight. But anyway, let's let me get it wrapped up with this one, the heavy one, and then we will put a little shade on it. We could leave it right like that actually, but I'm going to show you what it looks like when we just hit a little bit of, I think we're going to use detail black magenta, just to darken her up just a little bit on the top. That's it. And we're going to put some bulging black eyes on it. I'll show you how I do those. Okay, got my wrap on there. Let's get this detailed black magenta on. Shoot, keep hitting the camera. If you want to hit it in a couple spots just to give it a little more darker spots, and just hit it a little more in that one spot. Maybe a little darker tail. I'm going to use black eyes, so I don't want to really go too dark around the eyes because I want them eyes to stand out. But all right. Take a look at it. I think I need a little bit more on this side over here. A little bit more in the brush. I got it thinned down a little bit too, because that detail black magenta is a little thick. Sometimes it's a little hard to spray, but I got it in my black brush. My black brush has got a 0.5 needle in it. So I always use this little brush for all my blacks, because I really usually only need a little bit of black, and I can put a couple drops in there and don't waste a lot of it. Alright, see how it looks. It's like when I peel these every time, it's like almost something different every time, so you never know what you're gonna get. Oh, there we go. So there you can see it kind of creates those spots you want on there. I'm going to put just a hint over the top a little bit. I don't want to lose all my detail. I like that. All right, guys. Let's get some killer black eyes on this. I'm gonna set this over on the stand for a minute, and then I'm gonna line up, show you how I'm gonna make these black eyes. So give me a second to get all the materials together, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna make these eyes. You can see right here, I'll show you, here's a clear one right here. Let's see if I can get it in camera so you can see it. That's how it fits in there, and it bulges out, so it's probably hard to see on camera. Let me see if I can get it in front where it'll focus. But it bulges out. You'll be able to see it better when I get them painted black, so I'll show you how I do it. If you watched my other video on eyes, it's pretty much, that's my technique. But particularly for these, I want to make sure they have a flat back. So you have to make sure that I have to make sure I don't get a big bubble on the top, because it's not going to sit flat and it's not going to glue in there right. So I want to get a flat spot, and there's 2 for each mold here. I've got two spots to fill. So what I'd like to do is I'll put a little bit in there, and I have to kind of hurry up because I'm under some pretty high intensity lights, and they'll actually cure this stuff pretty quick if I'm not careful. All right, so I like to get and drop it in like this. Seems to be the easiest way I've found to keep them flat. And I just put like 2 drops in there. I'm actually using the second hole over, and I'll put a link to this mold in the description if you want to get one. But you want just enough that it's going to sit flat. And if you have good eyes, you can see pretty well. But usually it's like 2 drops with the 2 good drops with the small brush. And then I'm going to put them in my little booth, which, like I said, if you haven't seen the video, go back and check out my eye video on how to make your own eyes. But I'm going to UV these, and I'm using this Dr. Resin, UV resin, for these, because it cures pretty good, cures pretty quick. It's like 3 minutes and it's cured. For the eyes anyway, I'm going to put another coat on top of them anyway. And I'm using Bob Smith on these craws. I don't use UV on them just because of the texture of them. It just doesn't want to lay right. And the Bob Smith, Works out really good, the BSI 30-minute. So basically I just get some drops. I put it in this little pan because cleanup's easy. I can just put it in there and let the light seal it, and I can pop it out. But you want to get it flat. You don't want a little indention is okay, because you're going to put adhesive behind it anyway. Some sort of epoxy to hold them in, because they don't have adhesive backs. These don't. So I gotta glue them in good. But yeah, I just touch it till it's level with the top of the mold pretty much. And I'm gonna stick that in there, and I'll show you some I got done already because I'm making some, and I'll show you how I paint them. Pretty easy. So let me put these in, and we'll pop them out when they're done, and I'll show you how I paint them. Let's pop this out of here, and I'll show you, and then I'll show you painting them. I'll paint a couple of them because it takes a couple coats to get it really nice and black. But here's what the eye comes out like. See if I can get that in camera. And for these crawls, it looks really cool because it bulges out. So, and it just fits in there enough that I can get the epoxy around it. Holds it in real good. And I think those are gonna do perfect because they're nice and flat. You can tell when you lay them down whether they're flat or not. But I just basically take a brush and just get paint all over them. And I do both sides because it kind of gets the, I mean, with black it's not that big of a deal because there is really no depth in the black. And with this being a UV, you can't color the UV and then put it in the things because it won't cure. The light has to get all the way through it. So that's why I make them like these and then paint them, get them real nice and dark. I'm using the pearl black on these, so it's definitely going to take a couple coats. But that's it. I'll put another couple coats on these, get them real nice and dark, and then I'll fit them in there. I'm just going to use a little Bob Smith to glue them in, and then I'm going to, like I said before, I do the whole Bates and Bob Smith just because it don't run as bad and fills in the crevices, makes it look really cool. So that's my epoxy choice on those. But I'll let these dry. I'll bring you back with them stuck on there. I'll probably go on and put my bill on too, since I'm mixing the Bob Smith. I glue my bills in. I got it ready to go. I kind of rough it up a little bit right there, just so the epoxy's got something to grab onto. And I'll put the eyes in and put the epoxy on and bring you back and show you the finished pieces. All right, guys, there's the finished fire crawl. Looking pretty good, looking pretty good. All right, so colors we used was, we started off with fluorescent orange on the belly. Then we came back with this Toulindine Red on the top, blending it down into the bottom of the shell. Then we did a little wicked crimson. Then we came on top of all that with the deep red. And the last color we spotted it with was the detail black magenta. So layering all these colors together, we get a nice looking fire crawl. It looks pretty killer. Yeah, I think I'll probably throw this one up on my whatnot store and see how it goes. There's the black eyes, bulging black eyes that we made. We used a pearl black on the eyes, so you can see they kind of got that little bit of shine on the eyes. But yeah, appreciate all you guys. Appreciate all the new subscribers we got. You guys are awesome. Appreciate getting your pictures. Stay tuned. Pretty soon we're going to have a Discord group going up, probably at the middle of next week sometime when we finish getting some content up on it. I'll put links down in the description where you can get onto our Discord. And yeah, so hope you guys enjoy the videos, and hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you get notified when we put up our next video. And always remember, stay crusty, my friends.